cutting nice and straight. It cost a few quid, but it cuts it nice and straight, and it means then when it sits down in the extruder in here, it will be flush and you'll get no air gap. As I say, you probably won't need to do anything like that for a long time, because I'm hoping the machine will be set up so well that you won't get any problems. What else? So this little gubbin is called a BL Touch. It's got it written on the side. It's an additional feature on this printer, and what it does is it has a little pin in it, and I'll show you later, and the pin ejects itself. I'll show you what the pin actually looks like. I've got a few spare ones because sometimes they can get bent and things. When I got the printer, it was a bit bent, and so I just replaced it. All it is I think it's a magnet in the end of a plastic tip. Again, on Amazon, really cheap. But what it does is it fires out the pin, and then when the bed is coming up, it will sense when the pin is passing a sensor, and it gets pushed back up. And basically the idea is it's a way of the machine telling itself where the bed is. So usually I think on the lower models you have to dial in the bed yourself. Not entirely impossible. I'm sure it actually, now that I know the machine, it's probably not too bad. But the idea is this is a sensor thing, and also what it can do is, and I'll show you later as well, is it can measure all the points on the bed and tell you if there is any areas that are uneven, and then it can level it out via the computer. Maybe, I don't know, I'll just let it do its thing. A couple of other things that I've added to this machine. So we've got, I wonder if I can show you one. There's a good one. Right, so the machine has steppers. That's what these blocks are, and they are steppers that are on all of the axis, and what they do is, move the XYZ axis, motors basically. And what I've done on them is, and you can see on that back one, this is a heat sink. I've just stuck it on. Got them on Amazon cheap. These stepper motors can get very hot when they're working, because you imagine, now the printer's off, so that's why I can move this, and it when it's doing lots of little movements, you'll find that they get really hot and it can wear them out. So people have advised sticking on some heat sinks that just keep it at a lower temperature, and generally with electronics, if it doesn't get too hot, it won't blow up, so that's always a good thing. The machine is actually transferring the movement via belts. The belts need to be nice and taut. People say it's a bit like pulling a guitar string. I can tell you, if your guitar string's that loose, you've got problems, but it's just a nice little bit of tension on that. But I wouldn't mess with that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If they ever went, you can replace them. What else? I put this as a little bumper thing. So sometimes if the machine, if say you have turned the machine on, but you'd left it like over here, you should always try and, when the machine's off, just bring it back to center. And the other thing is try and keep the bed kind of up here. Don't leave it hanging down here, because what will happen is sometimes the machine won't remember where it was left, and then it won't be able to bring the bed up. Or what will happen with this is, if you start over here, it goes to show that there is still electricity in this system. Look at that, it's still lighting up. Which is why you should never open up electronics, because they can still blow you up even when they're off. But there you can see, look, it's deployed itself, the little BL Touch thing, and then I just stuck it back in. But yeah, so if the extruder was sat over here and you turned it back on and said, hey, you know, go back to your home position, which is where it tries to bring it back to center, because it's starting in the wrong place, sometimes what it might do is run into the edge, and you'll hear it go, If that happens, just switch it off at the switch. Now, you can just kill this machine and you're not going to do any harm to it, as far as I'm aware. It's not done me any harm, but you just flick it off at the switch and then bring it back to center. If you're getting the same thing with the bed doing that, I'll show you what you do to bring it back to center, but you'll hear the motors going. It's not good to leave it going. It will damage them, so you just turn it off and then you can manually do it, bring it back to general center. But what this thing is for is, if this was to run over here, what would happen before is this little part would bash onto the wheel here and break it. I think that's why it was maybe bent when I got it. You can't really do it the other way because it's going to hit the other bits first, but it's a very fragile bit, so it just protects it. Again, another free little design. Attach it on there. The other things that I've added on here is a little support. The wires, they are delicate. It is made in China, this stuff. You know, it's very much component based, and quality is not always 100%. So you just gotta give it a bit of love. And I did the same on the back there, because what you'll find is this will hang on your print and get caught and rip it off. I've also put a little support under here for the cable that goes into the hotbed. So yeah, this is the bed that heats up. You've got the metal part, and there's a load of heating element on here, and then on top this is glass that is tempered or something, and it has a sort of coating on it that's to help the print stick. But yeah, you can actually flip this glass over and use the other side. You can see here I dug into the bed a little bit aggressively with my scrapey tool and took off some of the bed. It doesn't matter. I've actually printed on this. The worst you're going to get is a slight mark on the underside, but it will not cause warping or anything. I mean, I think if you'd lost the whole bed, it wouldn't be great. But you can, if that did happen, just flip the bed over. These cost about, the cheapest I've seen is about 40 quid. Don't know about postage. So some people use like a bit of mirror. I think it would have rough edges, but you know, you can always get new ones if you need it. But it's just because this one is a slightly bigger size, it's more expensive. So anything else? Yeah, so I think that's the main thing. So the power cord, power supply is a kettle lead. These are all the wires that are just wiring everything up. If you ever find, I found that I'd accidentally knocked off one of the connectors for the steppers, so nothing was moving in, I don't know, the y-axis direction. Just, if that does happen and you're not getting movement in a certain direction, just check that all your plugs are plugged in, you know, like these little things. This is a sensor, so when the machine moves over to this side, it will activate that sensor and then stop. So that's what that's for. You can see there's one over there, and there'll also be one as the bed's going up. So